back to Shirtburger.
How's it going?
Good. We started recording and had about an hour of stuff, and
The government took it from us.
The government took it from us.
We definitely shed a little bit of light on some subjects that I probably wanted suppressed.
Yeah, that's actually heartbreaking. That's probably my favorite episode yet. So we'll take it from the top. We got Caleb's dad with us today. He's not gonna be on camera most likely, but
he definitely will pitch in.
Yeah,
I don't want the government to know I'm here.
You'll hear him. All right. So I guess I'll start off with the U.S. moon landing conspiracy.
Based off of what we've talked about previously, I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's false.
Let me get a timeout real quick.
Oh boy.
Move that curtain. There's got to be a huge spider behind that curtain. I just seen it moving. Huge.
Alright, hold on. Alright, we're back. It turned out to be a huge stink bug, but...
We felt threatened.
Yeah. You felt threatened.
Thought we were going to have to get the flamethrower out.
Yeah. House had to go down, brought out the napalm.
Pull out my AK-74 BB gun.
That he can't find the ammunition for.
That's true.
It's a BB gun.
It's not
at
a
Walmart.
BB gun.
It's not a BB gun.
Oh.
It's for YouTube
Remember,
purposes.
you told me, why would you buy a BB gun that you can't find ammo for?
That's right. I forgot about that conversation.
Yeah. No, it was the whole BB part that threw you off.
But I just don't want it to get flagged to the video.
Yeah. It is a BB gun. 100%.
It's an Orby gun. It shoots water bullets.
Oh, yep. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole U.S. moon landing, I'm starting to not believe in it.
Yeah, so coming into the first recording, I was on the side of it's gotta be real. The evidence is there. Now I don't believe that. And
you guys missed the whole episode of changing their minds.
He did blow our minds.
So one of the big,
all 27 of you.
Yeah, every subscriber. I don't know. There might be like 34 now or something. We got a couple
34.
off the last video.
Because we're moving on up.
We are. Hopefully people are sharing with their family and friends. We
So
try
far,
to keep
yeah.
it PG, but
Hit that like button.
thank you. Share, sub, do something. Help us, please.
Yeah. Leave a comment.
Send us money.
No, don't.
You could do that.
That
if
might
you
be
wanted
stretching.
to, but...
That might be
You gotta
stretching.
ask eventually, right?
So one of the big questions is, did they fake the moon landing just to beat the Soviet Union in the space race?
Which we lost, I'm pretty positive.
You know what? I wasn't even thinking along those lines, but think about it. The USSR puts a monkey in space, and the next thing you know, we're landing on the moon? Come on.
I thought it was Sputnik that they put out in space first.
Yeah, that had the monkey in it.
I thought
Yeah.
Sputnik was an unmanned craft.
There was no man.
It was a monkey.
Well, yeah, that's true.
They sent a dog up there too, I think.
Yeah.
But
we apparently...
But
I think
they-
America sent the dog, because we got it back, I could have swore.
Either way, it was basically like, well, they can't do it because the monkey burned up in flames
Right.
after freezing to death in
Did it?
space.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it got out into space, froze to death, and then basically came straight back down and went into flames on the...
Yeah.
Because it was
That
it was a
poor
crash
thing
landing.
got tortured.
It was a crash
Absolutely.
landing. Something coming in from the atmosphere at full force. It just lights on fire.
Yeah.
Pretty tragic. Rest in peace to that monkey.
Can you imagine that monkey was like, oh, look, humans. I'm going to go hang out with them. You know, then you send it to space, and now that monkey's wishing he just stayed in the jungle.
Rest in peace to that monkey.
So-
And to Harambe.
But we were talking previously about apparently India had sent a spaceship to space. They spent a total of 2 weeks there, or 12 days. It
Yeah,
takes
and
3
that's
days
bullshit.
to get there.
They didn't go.
Yeah.
I'm going to show the picture for anyone who's like, well, it's got to be real. The news had it on there. Look at this. This is a picture from Galaga. That's not a. There's no way.
Change my mind.
Change my mind. I'll hear you out, but I'm not sure that I'll believe you. But I'll listen. If you can prove me wrong, then so be it.
Oh, is that a reverse screen? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's apparently the ship that they landed on the moon with and spent a total of 2 weeks there, and then came back successfully. But I think my father had brought up that
The temperature.
they were having a hard time withstanding the cold nights.
Well, they openly discussed how they weren't prepared for the cold.
Right.
Their craft wasn't built for it.
And I brought
And
up
how
the
cold?
fact
How
that
cold did you say space was?
458 degrees,
Yeah.
negative 458 degrees Fahrenheit. They couldn't stand that, but they were exposed.
If you guys
to
are
it
from the
every single
Midwest,
time.
you know cold, and that's way colder. Like that's if you step
Well,
outside, you'll
yeah.
die. You step outside, you'll die instantly, even if you're completely.
I think
dressed
that's
and-
colder than liquid nitrogen.
no, that's like day after tomorrow cold. Remember in the
like
beginning
instantly
where they're
froze.
flying in the helicopters?
Yeah,
And the dude opens up the door and he goes, and he just freezes.
yeah.
That's how
he
cold that
didn't
is.
even get a breath out.
No,
Mhm.
I think gasoline freezes. Rocket, no, I guess rocket fuel won't freeze if they're making it to space, or does it?
It probably does. I'm going. You know what?
Think about it.
Man, we went full circle. We got to re-talk about it all.
Wow.
But it's like negative 458 degrees Fahrenheit. They weren't prepared for that, but they were exposed to it every single second
For 2 weeks.
for 2 weeks. But
Well,
they
no, they weren't. Come on, they had thin little pieces of metal wrapped around a steel frame, and that kept them warm.
But they even said that they struggled.
That was sarcasm, Caleb.
I know it was. But that's 100% why I don't believe in that moon landing. The U.S. one, I'm definitely more on the sides of not believing that.
Yeah, I am now as well. The answer basically that they give to did they fake it just to beat the Soviet Union though, is that 400,000 people worked on the project, and they say that there wasn't one whistleblower, but there were a lot of alleged deaths of people right
Yeah.
after, like a week after the project.
Is that true though? Did you Google that?
Yeah.
Oh,
So there's a lot of people that they say died right afterwards, and people do die, especially out of 400,000 people. But at the same time, it was all people that worked on that project right after.
Yeah, and
And who's to say there wasn't a whistleblower? Because
they might have had a whistleblower.
back then,
I think
like,
they
if
just
you-
might have made an example of him and silenced the rest through
It could
that.
be too. It could be too.
Well, I won't say I think they did. I think it's a possibility that
Yeah.
they did. Because there's
Definitely.
definitely times where they've most likely silenced somebody by executing another. Maybe not our government, but somebody else's government could have done that. But I think that's a possibility that they took to ensure that they didn't go out and blow any kind of news. But didn't Neil Armstrong? Didn't he start coming out later in his years?
I thought I had heard something that he came out later on and started talking about. I don't know. You know how people get and they can read. Somebody says something. They do it to people all the time. A person says something.
And it's taken out of context.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the next thing
Makes
you know,
them think they're crazy.
and that could have been. I mean, I can Google it and try to.
And I guarantee you, at some point in time, somebody said, "Oh well, Neil Armstrong's getting into his later years. He's probably just going senile."
Mm-hmm.
That's probably
It's a
another
possibility,
measure that they
too.
took. It is. I 100% agree. But that could just be another way of them trying to silence information from
Definitely.
getting leaked and making other people believe that it was 100% true.
Here's my question for you guys right now. Do you believe in conspiracy theories, or do you try to debunk them?
I try to debunk
I
them.
try to debunk them at first, but if I can't, then I can't. You know,
Yeah.
I'm definitely open-minded.
Like the whole Bigfoot conspiracy theory, I personally don't believe in it just because I haven't
Well,
seen it.
Listen,
There's
have you seen the videos?
I know. The 1960s video camera footage is so
Filmed in
believable.
1923. Come
It's
on.
100%
You can see the
true.
fur on them things.
Yeah. But
Well, the thing
meanwhile-
about that is too, like maybe it was some kind of species that was out there. Maybe they're extinct now.
it could be.
You know, and who's to say that that's not the case?
But are they
Have-
just reusing the footage?
Have you explored every inch of the forest
No.
in the United States? Me
No,
neither.
that is true. I
You know,
haven't.
There's a lot of species of stuff in the U.S. that I have known nothing about, and I've lived here for almost 27 years now.
Right. But I guess my whole issue with it is we know more about what's on land, and it's obviously a lot easier to explore the land than it is the sea. But we know pretty much everything about the land. We only know 5% of what's in our ocean. And the ocean takes up most of the world.
That's true, but at the same time, they're discovering caves that are so huge that they have their own ecosystem.
Yeah, I did just
You
hear
know?
about I can't remember what
It's
that
probably
cave
the
is
same
called.
one that I saw too, where it's like you go in a cave.
It
and
takes
looks like
2
a cave,
days to get out of that cave
but
from
then
start
when you
to finish.
when you go in after it doesn't look like a cave anymore, you go in. It's got its own river and everything.
It's got its own lake system.
trees,
Yeah.
everything. It's crazy.
It's the same Sun Dune Cave, I think, is what it's called.
That sounds right.
And
Don't stop talking. You're doing a podcast.
well, you
Come on.
showed me a text. I didn't know.
Well,
that-
because
I
I
thought-
don't want to tell you that
Okay.
Monica wants the keys.
Oh well, that,
Sorry,
Didn't he?
I thought he was showing us some.
I thought that's
some
what he
stuff
was
'cause
showing
he's
us, too.
Googling.
but I think it's called Sun Dune Cave, and like you said, it's got like its own lake system, its own trees, everything like that.
Yeah, which is nuts because people didn't know that it existed
Yeah.
until recently.
And it looks beautiful from the pictures I've seen of it. And what I've read, it takes like 2 days from start to finish to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people discovered it like 80 years ago. And
Really?
Yeah. From what I read, somebody discovered it 80 years ago, and then somehow it just kind of got forgotten about. It probably
like
lost popularity.
someone's like, oh, I found this, and then they go back to show someone, and they're like, well, I thought it was here.
Yeah, they probably had the wrong location or something like that. But yeah, it's. I agree. Like I don't plan on exploring every single inch of the forest. In
I mean,
the
it'd be
United
cool
States
too, but it'd take a lot of. You couldn't do it.
it'd take
In your
years.
lifetime, you couldn't do it. You'd have to walk in circles for your whole life, and you still might not be able to do it.
So you're right. You got a point. It's,
Well, there's
But-
a lot of stories about people going missing in the woods and stuff like that. Why
Yeah.
couldn't that be?
It could just be a person that's just kind of not shaving up. You know,
No,
but how
no.
does that?
Oh, not shaving.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
I'm
not.
not
shaving.
saying that I believe in Bigfoot, but I'm not saying that there's not a Bigfoot either.
Yeah,
You know, I just don't.
there's
know
a
enough
good
about
possibility. I'm not doubting that, but
There's
I
a lot that we
personally
don't know.
don't have experience with it, so I'm more along the lines of trying to debunk it. If you're gonna sit there and say Bigfoot's real, let's try to get more modern day filming of it.
But what
That
if
would
they're
be
extinct?
so much helpful. They could be, but does that mean that we're just reusing film?
What if
from,
Bigfoot's a giant?
They could be.
Bigfoot is a giant.
They're like what, 8 feet tall? From
And
what
that-
people have said,
What makes you a giant? What?
bigger
You know,
than
how
the
tall do you
average
gotta be
human.
before
I
you're
guess is
not
considered a
considered a
giant.
What?
I said bigger than an average human is technically considered a giant to some people.
Well, I mean, to
Well,
a midget,
are we talking like is a giant its own species or just a humongous human being?
It could be both. I guess it just depends on your outlook on the term giant.
Well, I know earlier, like your dad was talking about how Nephilims are giants, and it's
Yeah.
because they're a hybrid of angel and human.
Yeah.
But would that just be like the DNA from that Nephilim passed down
See, now
becomes
that's a
modern
good
day
idea.
giant?
Is that?
because
what
there's
makes people
like
giants
you,
nowadays.
like you do the DNA tests these days, like the ancestry or whatever, and there you could be like me and my sister are full blood siblings, and we could have like I'm Scottish and she's not, stuff like that. So who's to say like, because it's such a small trace amount, stuff like that. That's not the case with us, but I'm just saying there's people that are like that, and if you're 1% Scottish and she didn't get the Scottish gene, then she'd never be able to pass it down.
Right.
So maybe
So,
it's like a
it
forgotten gene that's just popping
Yeah.
up at random.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know. It's
I
just
didn't
a
even
theory.
think
I
about
don't
it
know.
like that. It could truly be something like that, because well, maybe not back in those times, because being faithful to one partner was more of like,
Well, yeah, but even with that, like people have kids.
well, yeah, but they had a kid with a giant, or with a god that produced Nephilim,
And then the Nephilim,
or an angel, sorry, not a god, and that produced the Nephilim.
and then the Nephilim reproduces with a human.
Okay, let me go back to the important part of the story,
Okay.
though. So let me recap for everybody who's as confused as I am. God created angels. Angels were good. Lucifer revolted. God kicked Lucifer and his followers
Out of
out.
heaven.
He gave them a boot, kicked them to the curb. So when they got down to the earth, they started running around doing some mischievous stuff. They were
Reproducing with
they fell in love with human women, and they, birds and the bees people, and babies were produced, and they grew up to be giants, which were Nephilim. But the part you're missing is the part where the flood was supposed to have wiped all that out.
But I think what he's trying to get at is, who's to say that the Nephilim didn't reproduce with
Prior.
women prior to the flood? And
You mean before the flood?
Yeah.
yeah,
That wiped everybody out, but no one in his family.
yeah, I guess that does make sense. How there wouldn't be any possible trace of that. So yeah, thanks for clarifying.
Okay, no.
It makes sense.
All right, but see, that's just so. If you think about it, okay, so there's a whole bunch of things. I believe in the Bible, all that jazz. The thing is there's so many things that I don't think were taught because it doesn't go along the lines of the Bible and what the Bible says. Maybe that's wrong the way. I think the Bible says it, but you got to be one of those people that can read between the lines, kind of thing. I'll give you an example. Adam and Eve were the first two human beings on earth, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what the Bible says. Okay? God created Adam in his image.
And he
Okay?
took a rib
And
from
then
Adam.
he took a rib from Adam and he made Eve. Okay, there are some people that believe that there was another woman before Eve. You can figure that one out on your own. But, okay, so then Satan comes in. He's a serpent. Obviously, the serpent has 4 legs because in the Bible, God takes it away. But he then talks to the woman, and this is why women are the root of all evil. She takes an apple, she eats it, she makes Adam eat it. She's like, basically, Adam, if you don't eat it, you don't get none of this cookie. So Adam's like, I want the cookie. So he ate the apple, right? Cookie, slang term for something else.
Yeah.
If you guys can't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So he eats the apple, God kicks him out. Okay, you're gone. I told you not to eat the apple, you didn't listen, send you on your way. Okay, so he kicks him out of the Garden of Eden. So God punishes Eve, and he says, now you got to bear the pain of childbirth. So if all the women listeners you have, which is probably none, want to know why they got to suffer so much pain, it's because they ate the apple first.
Eve ate the apple.
Right. So God made childbirth painful. So anyways, they have 2 sons. Adam and Eve have 2 kids. Cain, which is the older one, the
Abel.
firstborn, and then Abel, the secondborn. Cain was a farmer. You know, he plowed the land and he grew vegetables, stuff like that. Abel was like a sheep herder, cows, sheep, stuff like that. Okay, so when it came time, they were still doing, you know, blood sacrifices back then. So Cain would take some of his vegetables and he'd sacrifice them to God. And then Abel would take like his prize sheep and sacrifice it to God, you know, and God would show Abel favor because, I don't know, maybe because it was a blood sacrifice or even if that's a part of it. But what it breaks down to is Cain got jealous.
And killed Abel.
Killed Abel, just beat his ass with a rock, alright? Buried him in the ground, you know. God come around, he was looking for Abel. He knew what happened. God's not dumb, you know. He says, Cain, where is thy brother Abel? And that's where you get that, am I my brother's keeper? Because Cain's like, he caught an attitude, and he was like, am I my brother's keeper now? And God was like, well, yeah, you know. But he said something about, God said something about the ground crieth out to me. Basically, he knew that Cain killed him.
Mm-hmm.
So God said, well, I'm going to put a mark on you so other people will know, you know, that you have sinned and stuff like that. So if you want to take this back, Cain was what?
A Nephilim?
No. The very first murderer on the planet. Uh-huh. Wow. Okay. So anyways, God sends him out, or he puts a mark on his forehead. And Cain's like, you can't send me out with this. Everybody's gonna know what I did, and they're gonna hurt me and this and that, yada yada yada. But if Adam and Eve were the first two people on earth, and their first two children were Cain and Abel,
Then
how
would
can there be
people
other
come from?
people on the planet to hurt him? Huh?
So that'd be the Nephilim.
No.
Well, that's
Well,
that's
how
where
would-
people
how else
go in
would
and
it-
they're like, well, nobody ever said God didn't create more people.
That's right. So
Yeah.
let's take this back. Okay. So God said that Adam and Eve were the first two people that he created in his image. Okay.
The first, not the only.
Yeah.
The first people he ever created, I think the key word in that sentence is created in his image.
Okay.
He created Lucifer and
Now,
everybody else.
listen,
He's talking about people.
I'm
Well,
talking
yeah,
about
but-
people. He created Adam and Eve in his image. Why couldn't he have created Neanderthals? Why couldn't he have created all the subset of humanity?
Basically, what evolution is trying to show people.
Okay, so why couldn't evolution and Christianity
Been
both
two
be
separate
true?
things.
Okay, maybe some people, God created the chimpanzee, maybe the chimpanzee did evolve into humans.
That would be the Neanderthals.
Right, and then the people that God created it in
His image.
his image in the Garden of Eden are another set of people. Okay? So you take those two people together, all right? So now you were talking about DNA earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I heard somewhere before that some people carry this Neanderthal gene. Some people don't even have that gene. Okay, but if you take what I just said and you pay attention to it, there was already Neanderthals or people that were coming up, you know, through the world, and they've already, you know, evolved into human beings, you know, and then you've got these perfect people that God created in a hidden garden, no less, you know, and then he kicks them out because they sinned against him. They got to interact with these other people, you know. Eventually, you're going to believe, because Adam and Eve had, they had Cain, Abel, I believe Enoch. They had Enoch.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many kids they had, but they lived like 700 some freaking years. No, I think it was
back in the
Something
Adam-
crazy, yeah.
back in
Adam
that
lived
time.
like 900 freaking
Yeah.
years. But see, now that goes back to what we were talking about in the scoop the government took from us. There was water surrounded the earth.
It created way
And-
more plentiful oxygen and carbon monoxide.
Right, that's where you got
That's
your
why
dinosaurs.
people were bigger,
But
lived
you
longer.
didn't receive the radiation that our bodies are pounded with today.
Right.
So your body's aged slower. You lived longer, but then after the flood, that water was gone, and then people started living normal lives like we do now. So there you go, you got that. But see, the thing is I believe people were here, and when Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden, they had to interact with those people. And
that's
those
what
were the
Cain was
people
afraid
Cain
of.
was afraid of. So
It would make sense.
it makes perfect sense to
Yeah.
me. But see, you don't learn that
Anyway,
going to church, and science isn't going to teach you.
No, because science is against it.
I don't know if science is totally against it.
There's a
I've
lot of
known a lot
science
of
that is,
people-
but there's a very small amount of scientific facts that will agree with Christianity and what the Bible says.
But see, I don't think it's that small. Because you look at it, science proves God exists over and over and over and over
Yeah.
again. About this when Moses went to Egypt,
He split the sea.
let my people go. Yeah, they were getting out, and the Red Sea parted.
Yeah, didn't they find like helmets and spears and horse
Yes.
bones?
They found where they supposedly crossed the river. It was a shallow spot, and what they did is there was these certain winds that come and they blow, and they actually do part the Red Sea. It's a proven fact that you get these certain winds that come down, they blow, they do part the Red Sea, and you can walk across it.
For how long?
I don't know, obviously long enough to get thousands and thousands of people across.
Right.
But they did find an army's worth of chariots and weapons and horses and stuff
Yeah,
like
because
that.
Moses and the people he was leading across the Red Sea were being chased down to be murdered.
Well, yeah, but you're losing the fact that
Well, all the people that they were being
the
chased
Egyptian
by.
army came across. They tried chasing after them, and the water closed in on them,
Yeah.
and that's why.
That's
it's
why
all
you
there
got all the
today.
bones and
So
stuff.
science proved that actually could happen, and then people went down and seen the chariots down there, and now they know it actually did happen. So science proves every day that God exists. It's not a day. So I don't know if science is actually against. Maybe back in the day, if you believed in science and not the church, you were burned as a heretic. But the stuff that science has proven today is proving that God exists. They proved the Big Bang actually did happen.
Right.
Once there was nothing, bam! The world existed. They proved it.
yeah, and it's like, well, what created that? What came from?
There had
yeah.
to have been a bigger being up there because nothing can't create nothing.
Right.
Right.
Nothing
Something's
is nothing.
Yeah. Something's got to create something. So anyway.
Well, like I was saying, there is still scientists that are against Christianity.
Well,
Like
there's
we
normal
talked-
people
well-
that's against
well, yeah,
Christianity.
but we were talking about how that people said that they found the last known location for the ark, and scientists are sitting there saying that it's not the ark and that it was.
Oh yeah,
falsified.
because you're doing a podcast on conspiracy theories. That was one that was brought up in the one the government took away from you guys, and that's it's simple for a government to simply say something doesn't exist or something isn't going to be or isn't what you think it is, because we had talked about that. You're never going to go there
Yeah.
and see for yourself.
And if anybody's curious, we're talking about this place is in Turkey, where they think the last known location for the ark is. So obviously, we're not going to be going to Turkey, but
They found a structure that's the exact same size as the ark. Looks like
that's
the ark.
in the Bible.
And
same
scientists
dimensions.
just happen to say that it's a rock instead of wood.
Yeah.
So it just luckily happened to be a rock, even though everyone else thought it was a boat.
So that.
But
that,
how do you disprove it? Because you don't have the equipment the scientists have, you know. But what you can do is look at motive. I mean, if you really want to freaking climb down that rabbit hole, look at motive. What happens if they prove the ark exists?
Everybody, would
everyone
start
in the world believes
trusting
it.
the government.
All 34 of your followers are going to become Christians overnight if they're not right now. So everybody believes it. So what happens to governments that are treating their people bad, you know, whatever you want to call it, demonic or whatever, governments that have hidden agendas to make themselves rich,
Basically,
they lose
to
all
manipulate
their power.
all of everybody
And
in their
everyone
country.
would come together too.
Yeah,
There'd
they'd
be
be.
It
no
would
more
unite the
conflict.
world.
It would
you know,
be
it
100% every single government.
Every person on the face of the planet would be singing hallelujah, and they would be burning candles, and everybody's praying. Atheists would kiss the feet of non-atheists. Dogs and cats would be hanging out, hugging each other. It'd be all that jazz.
Yeah.
You know, because it would be solid proof that the flood did happen, and everything the Bible has said is true. Solid proof. You can't be denied. But all it takes is one scientist with the tools that you don't have
To say
to
that
say
again.
it's not what you think it is. And then all that goes away because everybody here and everybody listening and everybody else around the world is never going to pay for a trip to go to Turkey
with the equipment that
with
they
the
don't
equipment
have.
to check it yourself and find out for sure.
And even if they did, no one would believe them.
No,
That's
no,
the
because
issue.
They-
once again we talked about that.
the government
All-
would basically make you crazy. They would make people think
that's
you're
all
crazy.
they got to do is call you crazy enough times, and then you'll stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
You-
that brings you full.
How did you
circle
word it
back to-
before? You worded it before, like, how many times are you going to tell a story and people tell you you're crazy before you stop telling it?
That's pretty much
Yeah.
the way I worded it.
Yeah.
Not verbatim, but close enough.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You know, you can tell people that you caught 20 fish yesterday, and if they all call you a liar, how many times do they got to call you a liar before you just stop telling people you caught 20 fish?
Yeah.
Even
just
if
be
you
all right,
seen
I
it-
guess I didn't. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you just walk away. And that, I mean, that goes with the whole UFO thing that we had talked about with.
Yeah, Miami, Florida, extraterrestrials.
Well, I think
being
he's
out there.
he's talking about Roswell.
Roswell. Yeah,
You know, you go out to Roswell. We had talked about that. That UFO crash landed in Roswell.
like 30 to 40 people seen it
Exactly. 30 to 40 people went out there and seen it.
before the
Before the
government
government.
intervened.
The government shows up and says, no, that's a weather balloon. And what's the story you're going with today?
Everybody thinks it's a weather balloon.
Except the people whose minds aren't locked into everything the government says. You
Because
know?
they actually seen it. There was more than just two people.
But see,
They all seen it together. It was all in a unison kind of.
yeah, but
moment.
those people weren't believed. They were the
No,
majority.
they were all
the
thought to
majority
be
of
crazy.
people. I'll bet you the majority of the people, and I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about before, like from Roswell happened in the 40s up to say 1990, or we'll even go 2010 or 2000. You go from that span of time, and I'll bet you more than 3/4 of the planet believed Roswell was a balloon. You know, so those 20 to 30 people who actually seen it and tried telling their stories, nobody believed them. A handful of people believed them. That was it. Why? Because the government kept calling them crazy, and they kept calling them crazy and stupid stuff until they just finally said, I've had enough. I'm done telling people the story.
Yeah, they just wanted to live a normal life.
Yeah.
at
Why
that
am I
point.
going to tell you? You don't believe me anyway.
Yeah, so now you got that crazy Greek guy on the History Channel with the really screwed up hairdo.
Oh, Ancient Aliens.
Yeah.
I love that show.
And, you know, he's the only one out there. And that was another thing that really ticks me off, all right? If we want to talk about... So, how come everything cool? Because we talked about pyramids. It just popped into my head. We talked about the pyramids. We talked
The
about
Sphinx.
the Sphinx and everything else. How come when somebody can't explain it, like that Greek dude with the crazy hair, it's always got to be aliens. Why can't it be human ingenuity that came up with
We've
that?
talked about it on a previous episode where I genuinely believe that humankind built the pyramids.
I do too, 100%. Just because we don't know how they did it doesn't mean they didn't do it. We don't have to interject humans or aliens to come in and build them every single time.
Same thing with Stonehenge. They
even
can't
if
fathom.
there was intervention, who's to say it wasn't like divine intervention?
Yeah, because we talked about it before the government took it. How there's people who, I don't remember who said it. Somebody said it between the three of us that aliens had made contact with us and said that they don't want to do any kind of further contact because we're not evolved enough. We're too concerned with fighting with ourselves. And
that was the Mossad guy.
Yeah.
See, that's what you got to tell them. They missed out on a whole bunch of information we came out with.
The government took it all. They took all of it.
The Sphinx is proof that the Great Flood happened.
Yeah, because there's erosion on the Sphinx.
I don't know if that's the proof that the Great Flood happened, but
it's a pretty good indicator that there was a large volume of water, and then it turned into sand, and then back to water, and then now it's sand
no.
again.
That's what he said. What I said was the Sphinx has erosion on it that can only come from a rainy climate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was in a tropical climate, you said.
Tropical, whatever, rainy, lots of water. I didn't say it was flooded. I just said
It
that
was
it
just
shows
eroded.
the erosion. But the thing is, I mean, if you want to talk about the flood, some high up ass mountain, they found, what do they call when they find them in the rocks?
Fossils.
Fossils. They found fossils on the top of some huge ass mountain.
How
Of-
would it have gotten there from down?
Yeah, of
at-
fish and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
how would they have gotten way up there if they weren't buried?
Up
You
there.
know, I mean, unless you want to say something about the tectonic plates hitting, crashing, raising
Them
up,
shifting
creating a
and
mountain.
everything.
But who's to say that wasn't part of the flood too?
Not me.
See, it could be part of the flood.
Well, something to think about. What is that place called? There's Cave of the Mounds up in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You go there. There's sea life fossils in there.
Yeah, Allie ruined that. She threw a rock right at it.
Yeah.
This pool has never been touched for 300 years. My
No,
bonus
it's
daughter.
300 years. It was like a million.
Yeah, my bonus daughter. She threw a rock right in the pool shortly after they said that.
It was a chunk.
They're
of
like, now
concrete.
we gotta go get that. Well, then how do you know it hasn't been touched for millions of years?
Yeah, you can't tell me Allie was the first one to throw. a
No,
chunk of
I
concrete
know
in.
for a fact she wasn't. But it's
But the point is, there's fossils of ocean life
yeah, because
in Wisconsin on a hill. Like, there's no oceans in Wisconsin.
They're
No.
on mountains, you know.
yeah,
But, yeah, no, it's crazy. I do believe the government lies to us on a daily basis. You know.
I said it in
Somebody
the
knocked
last
on your door.
episode. Yeah, I heard him. A door opened up. But I said it. I think it was on our last episode. I'm a father of like 4 kids. There's no way that somebody.
Caleb can see.
So
So we had to take a brief pause. I kind of forgot where I was.
I guess we could just move on to our next topic.
Yeah.
Because we're in a deep rabbit hole.
We were. I had brought up some about the whole solar eclipse thing.
Nineveh.
Yeah, Nineveh. There's a place in Illinois, Maconda, Illinois, right next to Carbondale. How it's supposed to form an X with this solar eclipse that we're having on April 8th and the one from 2017. And there's apparently a lot of people who think that there might possibly be giants because of the state park there. And Maconda translating from South African meaning little people, so people think humans are the little people and giants are going to awake. We've talked about how we do think that there are giants that used to be alive or still possibly
Wait a minute,
are.
Wakanda?
Maconda.
Wakanda. I was gonna say Wakanda means little people. So does Wakanda mean big people?
I have no clue.
Just kind of curious. Okay.
You should Google that on your own time.
Did you do any deep diving into the biblical stuff on the eclipse?
So I do know that there's, I believe, 8 cities in the path of the solar eclipse that's about to come that's supposed to align with Nineveh, which...
They're named Nineveh.
Oh, are they named
They're
Nineveh?
named Nineveh.
Okay.
Which Nineveh
That's
is...
like in the book of Revelations, I know that.
I think it's the city that Jonah goes to in Syria.
He was supposed to go to Nineveh,
Okay.
but he refused to.
Okay.
But I don't... That's pretty much the extent of what I did know.
Well, Alex Jones posted a quote on X, formerly known as Twitter, about the solar eclipse, and he said, this is the verbatim headline: NWO hijacks upcoming biblical event. Why has Homeland Security been preparing to hijack the coming eclipse? Why is this eclipse different than the one in 2017, considering states in its path are preparing a military response to a biological warfare or potential nuclear attack?
Think
Yeah,
about it.
Texas has...
Why
I
is
think
there
it
a
was
military
Texas.
presence?
Here's the thing. I think there's no difference between this eclipse and any other eclipse that ever happened, other than the fact that I think the government's planning something, and I'll bet you that's exactly what Alex Jones is talking about, because if Alex Jones says it, it's going to be true. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but within the next year or so, if he said it, it'll probably come true. But I think it's got something to do with the government's planning on doing something,
Mm-hmm.
or
Or
preparing, and they want to see how far they can go.
They're trying to test their limits kind of thing.
Yeah, just like I think COVID was something they were trying to see how far they could take something before the American people stood up.
Kind of like
because
with
it
the
seems
vaccines.
like when people were like, all right, I'm done with COVID, nobody was really doing the guidelines anymore. Biden was like, okay, it's over.
I think with
But
the
see,
vaccines, I
that's-
think they were trying to see how many people would just believe them and do what they said, and how many they would have to worry about if they tried
That's
something.
what I'm talking about. I think they found out, and I think it was something they freaked out about, was how many people actually refused to get the shot.
Yeah, they were. How many people were the wolves that they had to worry about instead of the sheep?
Okay.
Basically, yeah.
Like you and me, we didn't get the vaccine. We're the wolves that they have to worry about. We're trying to protect the sheep.
Listen,
of
I'm
our
not
families.
a wolf, but I'm not a wolf the government's got to worry about.
Yeah, me neither.
That was a joke. It's probably too late for me.
Yeah, you're done.
And
But-
you already gave your full name and everything.
No, listen. I already told you, zombie apocalypse, you're zombie bait. I'm throwing you out. We'll keep the grain. We're going to keep going.
This is a genuine conversation we have
Because
had.
I am not going to have to worry about finding you an inhaler to stay alive. You're just done.
I don't buy my inhalers anymore. I struggle. But I think that's what it was more along the lines with the COVID vaccine, is they were trying to figure out how many people were more of a threat to them than they were willing to do what they said, kind of thing.
Okay, but so isn't all this military intervention stuff, or the stuff that they're doing military-wise, isn't that just in Texas?
No,
No, it's not
everywhere
just in
that's
Texas.
in the path of the
Yeah.
eclipse.
But Illinois is in the path of the eclipse.
In
Yeah.
the southern half of Illinois. They've got
Yeah,
National
there's
Guard.
a military presence coming.
Yeah, there's a National Guard
Where it
presence
passes
being
over.
deployed in Illinois.
What do you think the reason would be? What do you think they would try to do? Okay, so let's recap on what you know about it.
Okay,
People
well,
have
I do
said
know.
the telephones, it's going to be hard to get in touch with
Yeah,
people.
because there's possibly going to be an overloader of the system where people are going to be trying to make phone calls with family
Okay, so
or friends.
communication between people is going to be difficult.
Mhm.
All right. So if you think about, all right, so if you were going to invade the country, what would be a few things you would want to do first?
Mass panic. That way you've got everybody in that country fighting against themselves.
But
I'd probably try to shut down their communication.
That too.
shut down the communication, shut down the electrical grid, shut down the water. You know, you
Take the
shut
kids'
down
Wi-Fi.
you shut down the infrastructure,
Yeah.
and then you have mass panic.
That's the basic tactics of sabotage.
What do
isn't it?
people do when they
Is-
mass panic? Everyone's outside.
Yeah.
Or they're in their bunkers, but most people don't have bunkers.
Well,
No,
here's-
because it
no,
takes
only-
like hundreds
But
of
see,
thousands.
there's another question: why are all the rich people building bunkers right now?
Yeah,
know.
I don't know.
But see, the thing is, when something like that happens, okay, if an EMP hit, it would take out everything. It would take out the communications. It would take out the water,
Vehicles,
because
water,
everything we have
electricity.
is on a computer system now.
Right.
Nothing's run manually anymore. Everything's computerized. So you take that out. It's only going to be 3 to 4 days before people start killing other people to get what they have, to feed their family. The first time your daughter cries because she's hungry, you're going to grab a gun and you're going to come to my house and shoot Caleb in the head. Why?
If it means feeding your family.
Yeah, if it means feeding your daughter, you're going to do what you got to do, right?
Okay.
It's not okay. Would you let your daughter starve, or would you kill your neighbor?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
You
you
know,
kill your
It's
neighbor.
exactly
That's
what,
what it comes
people are
down
going to
to.
do.
The minute your kids start crying because they're hungry or they're cold, and you know somebody has something you don't, they're as good as dead unless they got a way to protect themselves.
True.
You know, so
That's why a lot of preppers tell you not to tell anybody what you have, because it makes you a target if something happens.
So I mean, so what are they planning? That's what you got to try to figure out. You know, or not necessarily figure out, but what I'm talking about is you've got to see, the government likes to do things while you're not looking. You know, they'll pass certain bills, they'll pass certain laws that you normally wouldn't want passed.
And they do it when you've got your back turned.
Yeah, while you're looking at this,
When you're
They're
looking at
doing
the
this
eclipse,
over
they're
here.
doing something in the background because it's
that's
something
what
that
gotta
you would
watch
be
for.
against.
So what do they got come up? I mean, you could Google what's on the floor for what are they voting for the next couple of days. You could try to figure all that out. Like they try to sign. I don't know if they got it or not, but what was it during the George Floyd riots? They got the UN bill passed so the UN could come in, or they tried to pass it. I don't remember. But so you got to kind of watch, listen to what they're saying about the eclipse, because that's cool, you know.
Yeah, it is a really cool thing to
The
experience.
last time we see, okay, so 2017, but the last time I seen an eclipse, I was in second grade. It was like 19.
It was in the
79.
1970s. Yeah, it was.
I
I
can
think it
tell
was
you-
exactly
I
1979.
can tell you
it was
exactly,
an eclipse.
exactly
exactly
when the
like this.
eclipses were. So this actually goes back into the biblical sense. A solar eclipse in the Bible is, if it passes over a nation, is God putting judgment on a nation, and there can be no false prophet because it's a direct sign from God. Okay, and since the U.S. has been a country, there have been 8 eclipses. One 2017. Before that, it was 2 during the Revolutionary War, 3 during the Civil War, and 2 during Vietnam War. That's it.
And now we're gonna have another one, so people think that
What
there
was
might
going
be
on?
World War
So
III.
what happened in 1979? I thought that was an eclipse. I can
I
remember.
don't think it was a
watching
total.
It had to be somewhere around Vietnam.
Yeah,
Vietnam ended in 1975.
There you go. It was right around
but
that time.
yeah, but there was 2 of them during that time, or was it 3?
But see what you got to
2.
do.
2.
So how far apart? So the Revolutionary War, you said, right?
Yep. And then the Civil War,
So 1775 to 17 what?
76-ish, or 77.
No, the Civil War or the Revolutionary War lasted longer than that.
Okay. And then the Civil War was 1860s.
To 1865.
And then Vietnam's 19 60s, 70s.
1960s.
So basically, you're about
1970s.
110 years.
Yeah.
Every 110 years, you see it twice. So 1960. So yeah, but why do you see it in
2017 and
But listen.
2024.
Listen. So in Genesis, the sun and moon were made for signs from God. Okay, and the only way that you could get a sign from God with the sun and moon are with eclipses, lunar or solar. And also in Genesis, it says, if they don't believe the first sign, they will believe the second. So
you're talking about the rapture.
Well,
That's what a lot of people are.
that's what a
thinking
lot of
this
people are
is
saying,
bringing.
and I'm not saying that, but a lot of people are.
Yeah, a lot of
And basically, they're saying you got the first sign in 2017.
this is
The
your
next
second.
sign's coming.
Well,
In a couple weeks now.
the whole deal with that was because so they are talking about rebuilding the temple, the
Yeah,
Israel,
those 3 red heifers were sent to Israel for the temple to
from
sacrifice.
Texas.
Yeah,
That was the
So-
other biblical tie. It was, for the rapture, is there would be a conflict in Israel. Israel would be divided, and
It is now.
yeah,
yeah,
and then
that's what I'm saying.
whatever river dried up,
Euphrates River.
Euphrates, that dried
There's
up. That
like
was supposed
so-
to be another sign.
But
There's
these are all
so
signs-
much prophecy that's coming true right now.
Those are supposed to be signs to bring about the existence of the false prophet.
Yeah, but there can't be a false prophet if it's an eclipse. The eclipse is supposed to be the true.
But the eclipse isn't coming across the desert. It's not coming across.
It's coming across
Israel.
the nation, which is our nation.
And it's not only our
But he
nation; it's
said-
Mexico, U.S., and Canada.
But you're talking about the eclipse is happening in like 2 weeks.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's going to take them a year to build temple now. So that's supposed
but
to
it could be a sign of it.
all
the
that
point.
all that sacrificing the red heifer and stuff is supposed to bring about the false prophet, and I forget what it says about that. But then the false prophet is going to bring around the mark of the beast, and everybody's going to get their heads chopped off, and that's when the rapture is supposed to happen, and people are supposed to disappear. So
But
So
with that being said, no. I'm not saying that the rapture is about to happen. That's not what I'm saying at all. But a lot of people do say that, and they're saying that this is just a sign of it. They're saying
That
it's a
it's
sign
coming.
that the rapture is coming.
I can understand why they're saying that.
yeah,
Yeah,
But
there's a
going
lot
off-
of prophecy coming.
going
true right
off
now.
of what he's saying, I guess I could see why he's not agreeing with it. Because
Well, yeah, I'm not
that-
either. I'm just
apparently-
being
I'm not
devil's
saying.
advocate.
No, I never said I disagreed.
well, no, you're just like throwing kind of like conflict in on the conversation. About
I'm
it.
just
Like he
putting-
was saying earlier, you can't take things at face
No.
value.
Yeah, exactly. I think what he's saying is a good point. Like, I believe that the temple is technically supposed to be built in order for the false prophet to actually come about.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 red heifers just happen to be born now, and Texas is sending them to Israel for sacrifice, as the prophecy says. But I don't know. I agree with you, and I agree with him. There's no real way
Well,
to really
I'm
understand.
not even playing a side on it. I'm just,
No,
I did a
I'm-
little homework on it, and that's what
And
I found.
I heard the same thing about that as well, where it's supposed to be bringing about the rapture and everything. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but
Mhm.
it kind of contradicts like what the prophecies are saying. If the temple technically isn't built, when in the prophecy it is, so I don't know.
But who's to say it wasn't like a translation thing?
Yeah, it could have just been
It could have been
misread or
like-
miswrote.
Like maybe it said the temple would be being built, but
Yeah.
they translated it to it would be built.
Yeah, so
And built is also like, oh, I built this podcast, but it's not done.
right. So yeah,
I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
No,
But
I agree.
This is so.
anyone listening, I'm not saying the rapture's coming, but I'm just
So for your listeners, the 7 seals are the white horse, the red horse, the black horse, the pale horses. So all the horses.
Mm-hmm.
Souls crying out from under the altar. Earthquake, sun and moon, stars fall.
I think
Silence
there's supposed to be
in
like
heaven.
a huge earthquake, I guess, coming around the time of the eclipse too. I don't know
Well,
if it's
sun
true.
and moon, stars fall. That could be that comet that's passing during
Yeah,
the
I
eclipse.
That's
talked
what I was
about it
gonna
on the
say.
previous one before the government took it. There's a comet nicknamed the Devil Comet, the Horn Devil Comet. It might. I'm not saying it is. It might coincide with the eclipse coming on the 8th.
Either way, it's supposed to pass soon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
It could come before, it could come during, or it could come
Well,
after. But it's
That's a
supposed
star.
to be soon.
That's a star
But
falling.
it is a star.
So maybe okay. So the first seal that should be broken. As the Savior breaks the first seal of the great book, a wondrous scene flashes before the gaze of the holy apostle John. He says, "And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer." What does that mean? Because they would have to happen in order. So the first seal would have to be broke first.
Right.
So
Has that first seal been broke though?
that's what I'm asking you.
I'm not sure.
For
I haven't heard
I
anything
didn't dig
about
that
a,
deep. I'm gonna be
I-
honest.
I haven't heard anything about a horse or anything. I've never seen anything about somebody
But
talking
who's to
about
say
the
that it
first
hasn't?
seal.
You know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've never heard of anybody talking about a first seal being broke. So I don't know.
But the people that would be talking about it, people are like, "Oh, they're nuts. They think we're getting
Yeah.
fucking raptured."
They could be
tomorrow."
getting suppressed. Who knows?
Yeah.
They could
Just
be
like
getting called
Roswell,
crazy.
people saw it, believed it, and nobody else did.
Yeah, 30 to 40 people saw it and knew that it happened, and now they're crazy. Or were.
So then the second seal, when he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, "Come and see." Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and the people should kill one another, and there was given to him a great sword. So that, I would say, has already started to happen. You had the 20-year war in Afghanistan.
Right.
You know, before that you had Vietnam, you got people commit murders left and right. You know, so basically the red horse would be the horse of death.
Yeah. Or war, however you want to look at it.
Okay.
We're about to be raptured believers.
The third seal, a black horse. The third seal was broken, and the apostle says, when he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. So
That sounds like the snake that we were
somebody's
talking about.
judging somebody. You know, God's judging us. The pair of balance is a symbol of scarcity of bread representing spiritual food.
Could that be like the suppression of Christianity? Because that's a
I
pretty
don't know.
big
The
thing
seals,
right now.
the seals usually denote law, you know, and judgment. So, I would have to say somebody's got to be judged at some point in time, you know. So,
And who's to say America's the one getting judged if that's what's going to happen with the solar
I
eclipse?
mean, I'm judging
Because you
them.
said Mexico.
or
and
maybe
Canada
you're
as
right
well.
because I'm reading right here. It says, "What a strange picture this is. The color black surely implies a departure from the purity of the faith of Jesus."
And
So
that's a
maybe-
huge thing people are suppressing Christianity right now.
well, they're blaming them for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And they're like, well, it's basically a trend right now to be like, I hate Christians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. So,
Okay,
Yeah.
so then the fourth seal, a pale horse. This is the version of dark times when he opened the fourth seal. I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and the name of him who sat on it was Death, and Hades followed with him.
Hades is the god of death.
Well, no. Death is death.
In Greek
Hades.
mythology.
Death is the Grim Reaper.
Right.
Hades. Okay. Anyways, Hades followed with him, and power was given to them over a fourth of the earth, to kill with sword, with hunger, with death, and by the beasts of the earth. Notice it is a pale horse, the very color of death. Notice the fourfold judgment. Power was given unto them to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. I mean, even when I was a kid, all them people were starving, and I mean, because this can't happen over a 2-year span.
Right.
You know, it
This
had
had
to
to
have
have
started.
been happening.
You know, and when I was a kid, you know, it was all about kids starving in Ethiopia and different parts of Africa and stuff like that. I mean, so that's what it's
So
talking
famine,
about.
basically.
But
Yeah.
then, well, not just famine, it was war. You know, you had all these.
You had Russia, Stalin killing all the people over there. You had Hitler.
Yeah, I mean, that could possibly be that. I think that's the war part, more of the Red Horse, you know, but as far as death, killing with a sword, look at all the genocide you had. You got Rwanda, you know, stuff like that, you know. All these people where, what's his face, in what was it, Thailand, going out and, what the hell was that dude's name? Not Poe. He's the noodle guy from, what was his name?
The noodle guy from
No. Poe is the noodle guy from.
Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Pow. No, that's a noodle.
I think it is Poe.
Is it Poe the
I think
leader?
it
I
is.
think he was a leader of Cambodia, right? And the Killing Fields. Come on, work with me. Somebody pick up.
I haven't heard of it.
Friggin' Google something. Google the Killing Fields.
Killing Fields of where?
Just Google the Killing Fields. I'm pretty sure it'll pop up.
There's got to be a horse of disease, right?
I think that was the pale horse, because that would be death, right?
It could be.
It's taking forever to load this.
Well, we'll come back to it. So then the fifth seal, souls crying out. Next, the fifth seal is opened, and we see, when he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God, and for the testimony which they held. Now you're talking about the people
Killing
who
Christians.
killed, the Christians that were killed. How long, O Lord, holy and true, until you judge and avenge our blood and those who dwell on the earth? Then a white robe was given to each of them, and it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer, until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren, who would be killed as they were, was completed.
You might have to look that up. It's taking forever for me to load it.
It is not going to be any better for me.
I'll look it up in a minute, because it's bugging the crap out of me. So then the sixth seal, earthquake, sun and moon and stars. I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth or hair. That's about to happen. And the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place, and the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave, and every free man hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains.
It was Pol, by the way. It was
Pol Pot.
Pol Pot.
Pol Pot.
Pol Pot.
Yeah, I said Po, I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
I forget the old pot.
Yeah. So
most of these seals have been broken.
Yeah, it sounds like they have been broken.
well, I don't know. You would
Depending
have
on
to-
translation.
Like you said, it can't have been all in a 2-year span.
No, it would have to take. I mean, you had actually all of the 20th century. You know, because if you look at it, all of the 20th century was rocked by war. It's got to be one of the bloodiest centuries the world has ever seen. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I would think. I mean,
It's arguable, at least.
you've got World War One, World War Two.
It's got to be up there.
You know, you got Korea, Vietnam. These are all the wars America fought in. You know, not to mention all the other little minor. You know, they're not minor, but to us, they're not on the grand scale of millions of people dying. You know, but so all these people dead in the 20th century. You know, that century would have to be the century of, I would think, the Red Horse.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're already starting off 2020 with disease and famine and war.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah. You know, that would have to be, the pale horse. That we got to be in the times of the pale horse right now.
So that would only be what, the 5th or 6th seal, though.
But what are the next ones? What are the 6th and 7th? Because who's to say
Well, the
that?
pale horse could possibly be the 6th. I don't know for sure, though.
Didn't I just read the 6th one?
That's what I said. I don't know if the pale horse was the 6th seal.
No, the pale horse is the 4th seal, I thought.
Well, then we've got three.
Well,
three
there's
more
there's
seals.
no saying that it's got to take a century.
Mm-hmm.
No,
You know,
it could all happen in this.
not 2 years. We just said
No, but it could happen within the next 10 years.
Yeah, the
Who
pale
knows?
Well,
horse.
that's to say that the next ones haven't also been broken already.
Yeah,
But don't
But
they?
when
I
they
think
have
they got
to
to be
be in
broken
order.
though.
yeah. At least it would
Well,
make
what's
sense.
what's after the pale horse?
That is the lifting the altar. Souls crying out. Next, the 5th seal is opened, and we see, when he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held.
I think we
So
talked
it's
about
persecution, persecution of Christians. That also happened back in Rome.
Yeah.
Christians were
They were being
barbecued
killed.
and, but so if you said that was the seal, then well, it can't be, because that's when where Jesus walked the earth. So where are they?
Well, Christians still get persecuted to this
Yeah.
day.
Well, in a sense, but when I think of biblical sense, I'm thinking
like a mass extinction,
like they're
pretty
killing-
much.
I mean, Jews aren't considered Christians; they're Jewish. So where are Christian people being taken out and slaughtered or imprisoned? Or, I mean, right now they're just being, what's it called when act? It's not racism, but it's
Prejudice.
prejudice.
That's
Thank you.
it. It was on
I
my tip of
couldn't
my
think
tongue
of it
too.
either.
Like,
Yeah, so you've got people, they're prejudiced towards Christians right now, but is that enough to break a seal? That's what you got to ask yourself. When do they got to start dying? But apparently they do, because it says, remember, where did I read that at? Oh, then a white robe was given to each of them, and it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer. The people under the altar, stop complaining. We're going to get back to you, basically, is what they're saying. We're going to get back to you. You just got to wait until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who would be killed as they were. So, yeah, more Christians got to die at some point in time.
okay. What's
So-
the 7th seal?
Well, you skipped the 6th. The 6th was the earthquakes and the start, and that's what everybody thinks we're in now.
Oh, so that was the 7th seal, was more Christians being killed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because prophecy now marches. Oh, stars falling. This was the stars falling part. Prophecy now marches on 53 years to the night of November 13th, 1833, when stars fell over America in the most gigantic display of celestial fireworks ever seen by the eye of man. I do not know what they're talking about. Anyway, let me get to the seventh one. The seventh seal, silence in heaven. When he opened the seventh seal, there was a silence in heaven for about half an hour. That's all silence, but silence, where silence in heaven? Yes, silence in heaven. That confused the crap out of me.
Me too.
This is the end of the 7 time periods in the history of redemption, the completion of God's plan for humanity in the Christian dispensation. It's the end of the story when God puts a period to history. It is that divine event to which the whole creation moves. It is the return of Jesus in power and great glory. Heaven is emptied of all its angels. The song of many angels around the throne are stilled because the singers are not there. They are with Jesus on the happiest mission of all their blessed ministry for the heirs of salvation. When our Lord returns to his glory, he will have all the holy angels with him. Except for Lucifer and his guys. Anyway, that's where you're at. Those are the 7 seals of the apocalypse. You know, I don't
think they're all broken.
Well, I don't know. I don't know for sure because the way I interpret, I'm not a very smart person. You know, you might interpret, they've got think tanks out there that probably know what happened in the 5th seal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, they probably already know. I just don't know what happened in history that would lead me to say the 5th seal is broken.
Right.
Because, I mean, unless a lot of Christians got to die. You know, and I don't remember anything like that ever happening.
No, the only thing that would have came close to possibly breaking the 5th seal would probably be like the extermination of Jews, but those were Jews. They weren't exactly Christians, like you said.
Right.
But does that mean that they're just kind of calling it close enough with the Jews, or does it just 100% need to be Christians?
I don't know. I'm not smart enough for that part, so just gotta wait and see. I mean, it's only a couple weeks away.
Yeah, and I think that's what's got a lot of people stirred up about the whole solar eclipse is they just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I think
a lot of people are saying a lot of things, and a lot of people don't know what to think.
I think that there's a good possibility the government might be trying to do something in the background. That's my stance.
That's what I think too. I think it's something like that.
Because
I think you guys' whole podcast on conspiracy theories took a left turn and went into philosophic debate or something.
The first part before the government took us was way better. It honestly was. But I don't really know.
Because it was like us discovering a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, we basically figured out that the government suppressed literally everything. And we went full circle back into the whole moon landing with that whole ideology. And then the next thing we know, when we go to save it, it just deleted itself. Somehow.
Yeah, laptop froze as I clicked save. After I clicked save, actually.
Yeah, because your mouse
and then it just
for
shut down. The computer literally turned off. Wasn't dead. Wasn't unplugged.
How come it hasn't turned off this time?
It's on the charger right now.
Well, it was before.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's kind of weird how we lost that, but
I'm also recording it a different way, so this way I don't think it can do that. If I hit stop, it's saved immediately.
Oh.
But
on the other one, I was on the editing app taking the video, and basically when you hit stop, you have to save it. And this is just internal storage I'm using.
But we should try to kind of get back into the first conversation that we had on how we kind of enlightened ourselves on the whole government suppressing everything from everyone. And I think we kind of touched on it with they're trying to kind of hide the fact that the last known location of the Ark might actually be the Ark. And if everybody believes that it is the Ark, they lose power over everybody. Every government anywhere loses power.
Well, we started to touch on that again already, but it's a really solid point. Like, everyone would unite and who knows? That could bring peace on Earth right then and there.
Yeah. Cats and dogs, they're going to hug.
They're gonna live together. They're gonna clean each other.
But it's just weird how there's a massive group of people who could see something, and then it only takes somebody like a scientist with a special tool that might not even work properly
Yeah.
to sit there and say, no, this isn't a boat, this is stone. It just kind of looks like it. I could see why people falsely thought it was a boat.
Well, especially if it was underwater, it would have calcium deposits on it and stuff,
Yeah.
and it would probably look like rock.
It would literally turn into a rock.
The Ark was never underwater.
No, but over
But
time,
now-
it could have possibly. I'm not saying it did, but it could have possibly been submerged at one point in time.
And it would have at least been
No.
subject to rainwater and stuff, rainfall.
Rainwater,
Yeah,
but it would never have been submerged.
but rainwater is acidic. It would have broke it down after many, many years.
Rainwater is only yeah. But
Well, that's how the Grand Canyon was formed, was all that rainwater. But if I go that route, then why hasn't it done to any of the other terrain around the Grand Canyon? So I guess I shouldn't really go with that route. But I know rainwater is acidic, and it could technically, over many years, just eat away something like that.
Yeah.
And like you said, it could have just calcified it to a point where it looked like stone. And
I don't know if it's. I mean, maybe now, but rainwater's not acidic, is it?
Some is.
it's a small amount of acidity.
That's actually
but
why
that's
the
why it
Statue
takes
of
so
Liberty
long.
is green. Because it used to be copper, I believe, right?
Well, it still is copper, but copper turns green over
Because of the
acid being
yeah.
exposed to it.
That's just a patina. All copper patinas. Like
Well,
that.
yeah. Over years, though, that's pretty much why. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to really pinpoint why they're trying to either suppress it so much or why they actually think it was stone. Like we said, we're not there. We're not going there.
I think we're on to something.
It's a really good
I
brand
think
new
we're-
theory.
I wish that the
Or
other
a
episode
conspiracy.
saved because I really think we're on to something. I just don't know what it is.
Maybe it's on there somewhere.
Hopefully it is.
I
'Cause
really hope
if I
so.
can find it, I'm going to post it either
Yeah.
way.
It was a really good episode. I just really wish it saved it.
It's actually heartbreaking.
Yeah.
How long we been talking for on this one?
Probably-
Hour and 17 minutes.
Yeah.
You gonna call it quits now?
I think
Yeah.
we could talk about that whole mountain, like the Snakehead Mountain thing.
Oh yeah, we haven't even touched on that on this
Yeah.
episode.
How long of a podcast do you normally do?
The
We
last
used to be
the
doing
last
like 30
episode was an
minutes.
hour.
Was it?
Yeah, and the one before that was only like 40 minutes. But
It's what we.
I don't know. I was
guess.
shooting for a shorter one, honestly. But then when we started
Then I
doing
showed
it,
up and
well, no,
We kinda went- We
no,
broke
the first episode was long like that too. And Caleb just showed up and we started talking, and it turned into a long podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do if you are having an interesting conversation? You're not just gonna be like, all right, it's been 10 minutes, call it.
Yeah.
You know.
I think we should just talk about the snake thing that you had brought up, but because we talked about it on the previous one, that kind of tied in with everything else that we were talking about.
Oh, actually, you know what? I remember what brought us into that. The White Indian tribe.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull that picture up again.
Oh, there you go. You can bring that all back to your Bibles and not your Bibles, but biblical times and
This-
Noah. Let my people go, crossing the.
Did we talk about that on this part or
Yeah.
the
No,
previous
we,
one?
we talked about that on this one, too, but we never brought up the 12 tribes of Europe and the lost tribes supposedly came to America.
Those are little blonde kids. And those are white Indians. Pretty crazy stuff. And that brought us into the conversation of the giant snakehead mound
Yeah.
and how there's a bunch of, was it bodies in there?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I just remembered that point that The reason I brought that snakehead mound up is back in the day there was a cave somewhere by there, and somebody was out doing. I don't know if he was
Just
watching the sheep or whatever he was doing. Excuse me, but he threw a rock into a cave. No, I'm thinking of the. He didn't throw a rock into the cave. That's the story of the scrolls. Somehow this cave got discovered. Maybe it was a kid that went in it. I don't remember how it got discovered, but this cave got discovered somewhere over by that snakehead formation. And when they went in and found it, there was all these skeletons sitting around. And when they pulled these skeletons out and they did DNA tests, it showed that they were from the Middle East, around that area. That bones, I don't even know what I would Google to find that.
What are you thinking?
Where is this mound? Is it in the States?
I don't remember where.
Yeah, I would
it
say
was
it's
in
in
the
like
States.
Wyoming.
It was
or something.
Wyoming. I think we said it was Wyoming the
The
first.
snake
Okay.
monument?
But there was a tribe that worshipped it, didn't they?
No, you said that.
Did I say that? I could have swore somebody was there worshiping it.
No, you said that.
It was you that said that, and we went down the
Well, I
idea
know there's a group of
because
people
we
who worship.
we were talking
snake-like
about how
people.
it's dead,
Right.
and you were like, maybe they were worshiping it even because it was a fossil or something.
Yeah,
And
like
your dad was like, well, why would they worship something that's dead?
right. Which that kind of brought me into why there is a group of people who might be dead now that worship snake-like people. That's
Lizard people like Joe
Yeah.
Biden. You want to talk about conspiracies?
I haven't actually heard that conspiracy theory before.
It's a big one. Everyone's like, yep, all the celebrities are lizard people.
There was one where people think the prince and princess of England.
The UK.
Yeah, Kate and whatever her husband's name is, they looked super fake. And I did a little bit of a deep dive on that, and it turns out it was just actors wearing like a wax mold of those people,
Yeah.
but everybody thought they were lizard people because they didn't show expression or anything. Was because it was a wax mold. But then again, that could be the government suppressing something. So who really knows? Like, I could just be falsely believing that it was a wax mold. So who knows?
It's true. That's true. That's a good point too.
I could have fallen victim of what I'm talking about. I could be talking about bringing out a whole new conspiracy theory that nobody's really ever thought of.
But then if you go down that rabbit hole of, well, I might believe it, but then if I do believe it, then I could be believing a lie that's about a lie.
Yeah.
That's how people go schizophrenic. That's
Yeah.
when people start to lose themselves. And it's like, you just gotta look at the facts. If there's enough there, then it's like, okay.
And
If there's not, then maybe you question it.
Yeah. And a lot of the times there's not a whole lot of facts you can go off of, and that's probably where a lot of people kind of question it.
Time to smudge.
What just happened?
He smudged.
Why? Was there a ghost somewhere?
Is
Yes.
now. Not anymore. Thanks to the
It's
smudge
gone,
spray.
Oh,
so. He got concerned. But yeah, you're right. You could just be stacking lies on top of lies and believing
Exactly.
them. So, there's definitely places where you can get a breakthrough in conspiracy theories, like what
Definitely.
we had. I think we've actually
yeah.
had a breakthrough
Oh yeah.
because things started
But I
really
think a
making
lot-
sense.
I think I'm not gonna say most conspiracy theories are like a distraction, but some of them definitely are. Like,
Yeah,
I don't believe that people are lizards.
I
think
can't say
so.
I do either.
I think that sounds kind of ridiculous, but you know, people could prove me wrong. I thought the U.S.
I'd
moon
be
landing
open
was
to
real
suggestion.
2 hours ago. Now I don't. Now I'm not sure.
Yeah, you kind of, like I said earlier, you had like a third eye opening in a way.
It really felt like that too. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, it started making a lot more sense after we started thinking about it. Like,
Well,
You
the moon
didn't-
landing itself started to make less sense.
yeah, I don't know if I talked about it on this one, but there was a guy showing frying pans.
No, you didn't.
Okay, so I'll go into that. There's a guy who was talking to a bunch of people who believed NASA had actually landed on the moon, and he was showing them pictures, and each of these pictures looked like planets, and one was Earth, one was Mars, Venus, so and so. And he asked these guys, and in the picture it had NASA in the bottom right. It looked legit. And he asked them what they thought, and they're like, well, that's obviously a picture from NASA's Hubble telescope or something like that. And he's like, this is the bottom of my frying pan. He grabbed it and twisted it. He just had it black, the handle blacked out. You couldn't see it. And he twisted it and showed you the frying pan. And he did it with coffee cups and everything like that. And it literally looks like a planet. And he was asking all these NASA believers what they thought on each one, and they always said it was a planet. And he proved them wrong each time. And he literally blew their mind. You could see their minds just melting out of their head.
So it was basically like a experiment for perspective.
Yeah, he was trying to get like the human perspective on what they think is true, and he basically proved that you can manipulate the human mind to think that something's what they are seeing and then just ruin it right in front of them.
It's easy to do,
Yeah, it
especially
really is.
when you're the U.S. government.
Yeah, they probably got millions of dollars just going into kind of ruining what people think or believe.
Are you smelling the smudge spray?
Yeah, it's pretty potent.
Yeah, it's potent, but it doesn't smell bad.
No, I think it smells good.
Yeah, I think that it's a decent smell, and it's
Kind of
it's
gets
thick.
like a. I'm thinking a dirty hamster cage smell to it,
I don't smell that.
or maybe just the cedar. I'm smelling the cedar.
It's Palo Santo wood is probably what you're smelling.
That might
yeah.
There's actually chunks of it in there, and oil from it, and ashes of it. So,
It's got a lot to do with it. But yeah,
yeah.
I think the government's definitely lying to us
I'm
about
just
a lot of it.
giggling about the dirty hamster cage smell.
Well, that's what it struck me as at first. I started looking around.
You're like, there's no hamsters in here.
Yeah, you would have smelled that 2 hours ago.
Well, I think that's probably a good place to cut it.
Yeah,
We've
Yeah,
been
the
talking
government
for a while.
days over. The first one was definitely better.
it
Yeah.
was. Hopefully, we can recover that one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have my hopes up just to so I don't crush myself again. But
So, what are you guys going to be talking about next time? More conspiracy theories?
We could do more conspiracy theories. What do you suggest?
I guess we'll talk about it and do a little more homework, and we'll have some good content coming for you guys soon.